Welcome to Falls Count Anywhere, where the wrestling ring meets the heart. Hosted by the gentleman Jody Powell, join us as we dive into the latest pro wrestling news and rumors, from the electrifying world of WWE to the inspiring stories of wrestling for Christ. This is your all-access pass to the action, the faith, and the hope. This is Falls Count Anywhere.
Hello, wrestling fans, and welcome to Falls Count Anywhere. I am your host, the gentleman Jody Powell, and with me, as always, is the mad scientist, Mike Buchanan, deep in the recesses of the Buchanan Laboratory. Mike, how are you, buddy?
Well, the lab's back open, Jody. You know, we had to close down last week. And
nice.
A lot of people forget that there is a science to politics.
Okay.
And I know there's controversy, around politics. So I thought I'd make it easy. A one-question IQ politics upon entering the ballot area. One question only. Yes or no? Only two choices. Hard to mess this up. Question is, if you believe it is better to spend $150+ million on people that entered this country illegally than it is to spend money on people that need it, like hurricane victims, and you answer yes, please turn around and leave the voting area. That's it. I don't care what your ID is or anything else is, just leave.
That's exactly right. Oh man, I got to tell you, I saw a post by a friend of ours, a mutual friend. I'll keep it anonymous, even though he put it on Facebook, so it's out there. He said, "Hey, just got off the phone with President Zelensky, wanting to know if he could loan me $750 because FEMA's not giving me mine."
I saw that. I said, "Please don't hold your breath."
Oh, right. Yeah, you did see that. Yeah, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Oh, well, that IQ question, though, that IQ test that you just posed, if it's truly a political question for the ballot box, you're going to have to word it in such a way as to say, do you not want to not? Yes, you do want to not. Do you want to not give $153 million to yes, no, and maybe somebody? So that we're perfectly clear on what you're asking.
Right.
I mean, we need a three-page document to tell us what the question says on some of these ballots.
And that way, if the right people aren't elected, they can always funnel it back and say, well, that IQ question is the reason that the right person wasn't elected, so we're going to throw the election out.
That's right. I mean, at least one side will get to use it and the other side will get to argue it.
Exactly.
Oh, boy. Meanwhile, the rest of us are stuck in the middle suffering. That's what happens. That's what happens when you put people in charge of stuff.
In all seriousness, putting the comedy aside for a minute, Jody, I am honestly hoping we have an election this year. Because I'm not sure if we'll have one next year.
Why you say that? Now you have me curious. What do you mean? Explain to me, Lucy.
Well, Ricky, with the way that I think the world is going, not just globally, but nationally, labor pains happen quicker the closer you get to a delivery. And these ain't Braxton Hicks contractions no more, ladies and gentlemen.
We are living in some interesting times that seem to have been foretold, my friend.
Yes,
That's
sir.
for sure. That is absolutely for sure. But what I can say is that until that glorious day, we can at least talk a little bit of wrestling. What do you say we do that, buddy?
Much lighter. Let's go, Joe.
All right. Well, I want to get us started, of course, with our discussion of the WWE fans. So last week we had a wonderful extended show of Finding Tomorrow. We really didn't get much into the wrestling news. And so therefore we kind of missed out on talking about Bad Blood. But I want to go back, Mike. Let's talk about Bad Blood, WWE's premium live event that happened 2.5 hours from where I'm sitting, just down Interstate 85 in Atlanta, Georgia. And
Wish it
record
would've
crowd
happened
on
in the
end.
Omni.
What's that?
I said I wished it would have happened in the Omni. The Omni was always the
Oh,
wrestling event or the wrestling arena in the South, the
the Mecca.
equivalent of
The Mecca.
MSG in New York.
That's right. That's right. The Omni in Atlanta. What a wonderful building that was. One show we're going to talk about wrestling meccas and buildings that are no more, like the Omni, like the Greenville Memorial Auditorium right down the road from where I am. But I'll digress because we do got to toss some bad blood here, pal. And what do you say? Let's just start off with the main event. Like I said, I love to start with dessert. Let's talk about Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns tag teaming against the Bloodline or the new Bloodline or Bloodline B or 2.0, whatever you want to call it. What do you think of the match?
Well, if I recall right, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I did say something about I thought a certain missing in action member of somebody's bloodline might make an appearance. And he did.
You did. He did. Jimmy Uso sliding out from under the ring in between the Tongans and took them both out with that Uso super kick. Took the hood off, took the mask off, and there he was, Solo Sikoa. Probably the only surprised individual in the world when you think about it. I mean, this match was so predictable, but it was still so good. And honestly, I missed the prediction. I was going to give the win to Fatu and Solo, only because of some of the buildup and maybe a little bit of a tension between Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns. But I think I did call a certain final boss making an appearance, and that he did. The music hit. But I got to tell you, Mike, anytime The Rock is making an appearance these days, it's so disappointing when he just comes out and doesn't say anything. I mean, his shtick is the mic. It's when he's talking. And so I get the build, I get the allure of The Rock being there and the wondering of what he thinks, what he says. And he even did a backstage social media post where he was talking about the final boss, The Rock, making the appearance. He talked for about 10 minutes, didn't say anything. Just not what I want to see when I see The Rock.
No, I think WWE's done that a couple of times with Cena not showing up as part of that US title open challenge.
That's right.
Now The Rock doing this. And I didn't understand, maybe you can enlighten me. What the crud was he doing with the title belt over that left shoulder?
Oh, yeah.
Did he win like the Bridge Championship and I didn't know about it? Has he turned the card playing?
No. Yeah, he won that Pinnacle crown with his Pinnacle group at the retirement home. No, that was the People's Championship belt that was awarded to him, I believe, at the WWE Hall of Fame event the night before WrestleMania, given to him by none other than Muhammad Ali's widow. Because, of course, Muhammad Ali claimed to be the People's Champion. He was the original People's Champion. And so his Muhammad Ali's widow was at the WWE Hall of Fame and awarded The Rock the People's Championship. Beyond that, it's not much for me. It's not my cup of tea. So, yeah, a little confusing there. And, of course, he comes out and he doesn't say anything. Jimmy and Roman and Cody are standing in the middle of the ring. You have to think that, it's starting to align with The Rock versus Roman, that bloodline versus this bloodline. Those things are going to come together. I think we'll see something at Survivor Series. I think we'll see that continue on over to WrestleMania. A couple of other matches. We did have the Cell match. Bloody enough for you?
Well, I was talking to you before we went on. I think that something happened with McIntyre. Let's just say it was bloody enough for me. I'm glad they didn't do any of the dopey high spots where Punk or McIntyre decided to dive off the top of a cage, threw the other one on a table or something like that. So,
Right. Well, I saw an image of McIntyre after the match. I don't know, it was on one of the social media sites, and he had staples all the way down to the middle of his head. And unless it was AI generated, it looked legit. So something obviously there did go awry, so to speak. But it made for very colorful television. And the match itself, I'll be honest, I think is one of the better cell matches we've seen in a long, long time. I did not have high expectations. I think we both had CM Punk walking away with the victory, and he did. I think that propels Punk, but they did it in a way that it didn't bury McIntyre. So both of those guys can move on to other things that will build upon what they did in the cell. My opinion. Oh, let's see. We did have a women's title match, didn't we?
We had two.
We did have two. Nia Jax Bailey. All right, let's go to the other one. And Rhea and Liv. Rhea. No, I'm kidding. Okay, Nia Jax Bailey. Let me give you my 5-second opinion of this. Just an absolute mess. Confusing. No idea what Tiffany Stratton was doing. A mess. Done.
Yeah.
Yeah. Done.
What
about Rhea and Liv Morgan?
Well, I suppose they're bringing somebody in to either help Liv or just to rip Rhea apart with this Rodriguez person.
Not a fan. I just the whole idea of Raquel Rodriguez. I just don't think she's that great of a worker. I just don't. I'm sorry. I don't. And it's hard to find. And I'm going to cause a little bit of a controversy here, Mike, just before we go to break. It's hard to find a really good female wrestling worker. And Raquel Rodriguez is not it. Yes, I know her name's Rodriguez. Fans, we'll be back, and we're going to talk about the WFC right after this. Stay tuned. Oh, hello, wrestling fans. The gentleman Jody Powell here. And I can't tell you how much I love this devotional written by my partner on Falls Count Anywhere, the mad scientist, Mike Buchanan. He wrote this book called Feeling Down, Look Up. You want to get your copy today? It's on Amazon. So you're going to want to search for Feeling Down, Look Up by Mike Buchanan. And it's got verses, it's got stories, it's even got a place to make notes. It's fantastic. You'll thank me later.
Well, hello, wrestling fans. Welcome back to Falls Count Anywhere. And right in the midst of our show here, we continue to have some intermittent internet outages. And so I don't know how this is going to ultimately come out, but hey, we're going to roll with it, huh, Mike?
Absolutely.
And we would like to have everyone just continue to pray for those in the path and the aftermath of Hurricane Helene. Cleanup and those kind of things are going to take so long, as well as pray for those that are in the path of Hurricane Milton, the aftermath of that massive storm as well. A lot of things, labor pains, as you said earlier, my friend. So just continue to be in prayer and be hopeful, be vigilant, as the Bible tells us to be. Now let's jump into the WFC. What do you say, Mike? A lot going on in the world of wrestling for Christ. And instead of just talking about last Saturday's Praise and Power Hour, I want to talk about the two main storylines, two of the three main storylines that are happening in the WFC. Number one is this beast right here, this briefcase that was delivered to me by the new commissioner of the WFC. I'm like a kid at Christmas, Mike. I want to open this, but I don't want to lose my job with the WFC. So I got to ask you, buddy, what's inside? What do you think?
What's inside?
What's inside the briefcase?
The identities of AWOL. How's that?
Oh, let me tell you, that may be something worth opening for me, considering my run-ins with AWOL number one here recently. And my stern warning that I gave to AWOL number one this past Saturday on Saturday Night Praise and Power Hour. He was also warned by the new commissioner. But I'll digress from that. I don't want to go down that road because it's a little bit of self-serving. So, but inside the contents, of course, we're going to have this television turmoil tournament, 16 men, and that's what we know so far. 16 men competing in a tournament to receive the briefcase and have the contents that are held within. And I don't know what that means. Beyond that, Mike, there could be anything in that briefcase.
Is this like a battle royal, Jody? Do we know what the ultimate end match is?
I don't know the structure other than a 16-man tournament. I'm assuming we're going to have 8 matches in kind of a quarterfinal of a regular tournament that's going to dwindle down to semifinals and then down to the finals, and then a champion or a winner will be crowned, and then they'll receive the contents of the briefcase. Now, is it a contract? Is it kind of like a Money in the Bank thing? Is it money? And for that matter, could be a wad of cash, Mike. I could be holding my kid's tuition right here in this briefcase.
Wait, hold on. I've just gotten a text from my friend Boudreaux.
Oh, Woodrow!
He was actually in Atlanta for Bad Blood. He's told me that new title that Triple H talked about,
Yeah,
that crown jewel title, is actually in that briefcase.
I don't think the briefcase can hold that gaudy, ugly-looking belt that Triple H revealed at Bad Blood. Did you see that thing? Good grief, that's not a belt, that's a corset.
Well, that's why you have to put it in a briefcase or suitcase, and that way nobody else can look at it.
You'd have to pay extra luggage fees at the airline for that thing. Good grief. That was the ugliest belt I've ever seen. I'd forgotten about that. I'm glad you brought it up. No, but I mean, this briefcase maybe it holds a title. Maybe it holds a contract. Maybe it holds money. Who says it's anything good, Mike? I don't know this new commissioner. We don't know who this person is. Maybe that briefcase holds a pink slip and you're out of the WFC.
Well, you have to cut corners, cut costs every now and then, so
you never know. Everyone is assuming that it's something positive. It may or may not be. The possibilities are endless, and what's even more endless in terms of possibility is, who is this new commissioner? I have no idea. I'm getting stonewalled everywhere I turn. These kind of investigative stories, Mike, in your days of journalism, that where everywhere you turn, no one is talking. Even your best sources, no one's saying a word. It's frustrating.
Well, one thing I noticed about the audience members at Bad Blood, we had DDP, we had your favorite Goldberg, we had Miss Jacqueline, ringside. We also had 2 of the original 4 horsemen, Tully Blanchard and the Enforcer AA.
Arn Anderson, that's right.
Ole is no longer with us. Now that does leave, and I know we run a lot of our shows out of North Carolina. I haven't seen this gentleman attached to any other wrestling organizations in the last little bit, but maybe the Nature Boys on a style and profile, have come down and be your commish.
I mean, it's a possibility. Let's not forget there is a connection with the Anderson family, with Chris Thunder Anderson, son of Ole. He is he is heavily involved right now in the tag team division with Kenny Austin. But that's not to say he couldn't have lobbed a phone call to Uncle Arn. Maybe it's Barry Windham. Maybe it's Lex Luger. One of the, that illustrious 4th horseman that have been like 7 or 8 guys. I mean, let's face it. Paul Roma was a 4 horseman member at one time.
No, anybody but Roma.
It could be anybody. It's going to be interesting to see though, because from the messages that I get from this commissioner, I mean, there's two things that I have determined just from the text messages alone. Number one is that this individual knows professional wrestling. They are very smart when it comes to the ins and outs of professional wrestling, how to handle a locker room, how to deal with talent, the way that these text messages have been crafted. And number two is they're no nonsense. They are no nonsense. So either way, I think it's going to be really interesting to see where this goes from here. What's in the briefcase and who is this commissioner? Only way to find out is for us to stay tuned to Saturday Night Praise and Power Hour and to Falls Count Anywhere. We'll be back with our Finding Tomorrow segment right after this.
Do you need inspiration to help you win your week? Then you need to check out the Quotivation podcast, hosted by the gentleman Jody Powell. Start with a shot of motivation to reframe your mindset. Hear from special guests who share their favorite quotes and inspiring stories. Wrap up with the last slice of cheesecake, where Jody recaps and gives tips to help you achieve your goals. Tune in and win your week. Available on most podcast services.
Welcome back to Falls Town Anywhere, folks. And this is our Finding Tomorrow portion of the show. You know, we call ourselves Falls Town Anywhere, and we'll talk about that tonight. Jody, I understand that you have developed, accidentally perhaps, but you have a catchphrase that ties into this as you're doing your ring announcing for WFC. Share that with your listeners, please. With our listeners, please.
Yeah, Mike, it's so fun. First of all, I love being a ring announcer. It's so fun to be in front of the crowd, to be in the ring, to be in front of a fun live crowd that's rowdy and loud. And as part of a ring announcer, something that you hear on WWE and other wrestling shows as you introduce the match is, ladies and gentlemen, the following match is scheduled for one fall. And inevitably, Mike, what happens is that someone in the audience will just shout out, one fall. And it's just one of those things that's just kind of taken off a little bit. I love it. It gets me giggly. It's a little hard to hold myself together. And you'll notice on some Saturday Night Praise and Power Hour shows, as I'm introducing matches, if someone shouts one fall, I might start giggling a little bit. It's kind of funny. But, as we started talking about this topic, Mike, it's interesting. I am so thankful that God does not hold us to one fall. Because I fall more than once a day. I fall more than once an hour, friend. If my walk was an image of a toddler, you'd think the toddler's never taken its first step. It feels like I fall all the time. And those falls, and the reason that we are Falls Count Anywhere is that those falls count. They matter. They matter in our walk. They matter in how we present our testimony. They matter in terms of how we talk about the things that have happened in our life. So we can use falls in a couple of ways. One is that I think we could use falls when we fall, whatever it is, whether it's of our own doing or not. We can fall and stay down. We can wallow in it. We can play the victim. We can woe is me. That's an option. We can do that. We can also decide to get back up, brush ourselves off, and try it again. And in that, sometimes we fall so hard that we need a little help getting back up. And I think you were talking about a Bible verse that really speaks to that. What was that verse, Mike?
I think that's false, but it might be in Hebrews. There's a verse that says, bear ye one another's burdens and so fulfill the law of Christ.
Yeah.
we talked about a little bit a couple of weeks ago, referencing Ecclesiastes.
Yeah.
If you're by yourself, you might do okay for a little bit. But if you have somebody with you and you do fall, like we're talking about here tonight, you have somebody to pick you up.
Yep.
I think that a lot of what's a polite word? Inspirational speakers. I know, Jody, you're part of Toastmasters, but I've heard a lot of speakers say, if you fall, fall forward. Now, as a note to certain people who may or may not be watching, don't fall forward up a flight of airplane stairs. But it's important when you fall to have somebody pick you up. Now,
Yeah.
that being said, if you fall while you're down, I've been there, done that.
Yeah.
Bought the t-shirt. While you're down, pray. Especially if it's your cause and not somebody else's. Pray and ask your Heavenly Father, or if He's not your Heavenly Father, that's a good time to make Him your Heavenly Father.
Yeah.
And say, Lord, I have sinned again, or I've sinned. No, you've sinned again. I was going to say you've sinned for the first time, but once you're born, you've sinned. And say, Lord, I'm down here again. King David in the Psalms said, deliver me from the miry clay. Set my feet upon a rock.
Yep.
But you know what? He fell after that too.
Sure he did. Sure he did. Absolutely he did. Because we're human and we're broken. We're living in a broken world. Something happened Saturday, Mike, as I was at a Wrestling for Christ event. We set the ring up. We got the ring set up. I'm in the ring, and I'm in there with Shane Austin. And he and I are just chit-chatting. And I said, Shane, show me something. So what do you mean? Show me how to do something. He said, fine, I'll show you how to take a bump. Now I'm pulling the curtain back a little bit here, fans. And he showed me the way to lessen the pain of falling. And I did it. And the first time I did it wrong. My ears rang, my head hit the mat, and it hurt. And then I got better at it, and I fell again, and I fell again, and I fell again. And one thing as we're talking that I realized, first of all, I feel like I've been in a bus wreck. My shoulders, I got whiplash, my back. But it was thrilling because I love wrestling, and I loved learning something from someone who, like him or not, is one of the best teaching wrestlers I've ever met. But what I learned was, as I'm laying flat on my back on the mat, outside on a beautiful Saturday, looking up in that beautiful blue sky, is that when we fall, our immediate direction of vision is up. And the same is true when we fall in our walk. Our immediate direct vision is up. Unless you fall on your face. But even then, we roll over and we're looking up. And so it's just a reminder that in our lowest points, and a lot of us have experienced low points recently, in our lowest points, what is it that you say, Mike?
Don't watch out, look up.
Don't watch out, look up. Well, fans, I think that's the perfect ending to this segment and to this episode of Falls Count Anywhere. I want to thank you for listening and watching. Mike, I want to thank you for being with me through this episode, as always, from the Buchanan Laboratories. And I want to encourage our fans to not fall without looking up. Stay tuned, fans, because The Clash is coming on Abundant TV right now. Give me back my internet.
If you feel led to help those that have been impacted by Hurricane Helene, go to redcross.org and give today. Thank you. God bless.